inform you all that the names that are transcribed here on this monument will be read out by some of the descendants of one of the sailors from the Sea Venture who remained on these islands in 1610, Mr. Christopher Carter. There are a number of descendants of this marvelous mariner. The town crier of St. George's happens to be one. He happens to be the most famous one, notwithstanding the presence of his sister from Great Britain here today. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Virginia Company officers, Lieutenant General Sir Thomas Gates, Admiral Sir George Somers, another Christopher Carter descendant, Captain Christopher Newport, Reverend Richard Buck, and Mistress Maria Thorogood Buck, and Mr. Thomas Whittingham. The latter gentleman was one of those who perished through the hand of the native people in Virginia. Here to read out the names of the adventurers that were in the original party from the Sea Venture is Ms. Diane Green, a descendant of Christopher Carter.
Ralph Hamor, Esquire. Mistress Horton. Sylvester Jourdain, Esquire. Henry Payne, Esquire, who was executed here in Bermuda. Captain William Pierce. Richard Rich, Esquire. Samuel Sharp, Esquire. Henry Shelley, Esquire. William Strachey, Esquire. James Swift, Esquire. Captain George Yeardley, aide to Sir Thomas Gates.
And the list, ladies and gentlemen, of colonists on that fateful voyage is Mr. Larry Roberts to read.
Also a descendant of Christopher Carter. Henry Bagwell, Humphrey Blunt, Jeffrey Bryars. Jeffrey Bryars died on Bermuda. Joshua Chard, Edward Eason, and Mistress Eason. And Mistress Eason and baby boy Bermudas. George Graves, Thomas Godby, and William Hitchman. William Hitchman died on Bermuda.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. And the last of these lists, Miss Jeannie Olander, a descendant of Christopher Carter.
Stephen Hopkins, Elizabeth Jones, Richard Lewis, who died in Bermuda, John Lightfoot, Elizabeth Parsons, John Proctor, Humphrey Reed, John Rolfe, and Mistress Rolfe, and the baby girl Bermuda, who died in Bermuda very sadly.
Thank you, Ms. Olander. And the mariners on that vessel, ladies and gentlemen, surviving the Sea Venture, we have the names of a number. The first list will be read out by Mrs. Susan Whale, a descendant of Christopher Carter.
I'm sister of the town crier. Older sister of the town crier.
Which is more important, of course.
Edward Waters, Summer's Aid. Henry Ravens, Master Mate, killed by native people in Virginia. Robert Walsingham, coxswain. Richard Frobisher, shipwright. Nicholas Bennett, carpenter. Thomas Powell, cook. William Bryan.
And it falls upon me to read the last lot. Edward Chard, Richard Knowles, William Martin, Francis Pierpoint, Edward Samuel. Edward Samuel, I have to tell you, was murdered here in Bermuda. John Want, Robert Waters, who happened to be the individual who killed Edward Samuel. And certainly last, but certainly not least, Mr. Christopher Carter. The names having been read, it falls upon the town crier now to find out what he has to do next.